Well, if you're wondering just how much special treatment Donald Trump gets as a defendant, the answer is more special treatment than any defendant in American history, much more. The proof of that once in history level of special treatment came in a Manhattan courtroom today when the judge presiding over the civil fraud case against defendant Donald Trump said something that no judge has ever said before, speaking directly to defendant Trump, who was sitting under oath in the witness stand. The judge said to him, "You can attack me." In the 400 years of courtroom history in America dating back to the colonial courts, no judge has ever said that in court to any defendant or any witness until today. That's how much special treatment Donald Trump is getting. On the witness stand today, in that fraud case, Donald Trump did not wait for the judge's permission to attack him. Donald Trump began attacking the judge instead of answering questions right away. And he attacked New York's Attorney General from the witness stand, something no witness has ever done before in a New York courtroom. In one of the judge's many failed attempts to get Donald Trump to answer the questions being put to him by an assistant attorney general, the judge told Donald Trump, "You can attack me, you can do whatever you want, but answer the questions." Donald Trump did the first two of those things. He attacked the judge. He did whatever he wanted. But he didn't do the third thing. He did not answer the questions. And it does not matter. Donald Trump's lawyers did not ask for a jury trial in the case, which doesn't prevent Donald Trump from constantly complaining that there's no jury. Deciding whether Donald Trump and his sons committed fraud in falsely exaggerating the value of their holdings was entirely up to the judge in the case, who has already reached a verdict that Donald Trump and his two sons did indeed commit fraud. The proceeding going on now in the courtroom is about nothing other than how big a penalty should the judge impose on Donald Trump and his sons and the family business. As has been said many times on this program, no sane criminal defense lawyer would ever allow Donald Trump to testify under oath in court. But this is not a criminal trial. And that's why you're seeing Donald Trump testify, which we will not see in any of the 4 criminal trials Donald Trump is facing. Because this is a civil trial, the defendant can be called to the witness stand by either side in the case. And so the Attorney General has called Donald Trump as a witness to show the judge that Donald Trump was actively involved in what the judge has already ruled was a fraud. But the judge already knows that Donald Trump was actively involved in that fraud based on Donald Trump's under oath pretrial deposition and the rest of the evidence in the case. Today, the judge made it clear to Donald Trump that if he refused to answer a question by making a campaign speech instead, as Donald Trump did many times, the judge would then take a negative inference from Donald Trump's refusal to answer. In other words, if the Attorney General asked Donald Trump if he approved of a false valuation and Donald Trump rambled on and refused to answer that question, the judge could then infer that Donald Trump was simply trying not to admit the truth that he did knowingly approve false valuations. Donald Trump made some admissions under oath that were lost to many observers of the trial in all of the bluster of the day. When asked why the square footage of his New York apartment was listed as triple the actual size, Donald Trump admitted under oath that the exaggerated square footage created a false valuation. Trump said the number was too high. The Attorney General introduced a deed to Donald Trump's Florida residence, which he operates as a private club because he cannot afford to live there without the income from the private club. The deed to that property says the club and Trump intend to forever extinguish their right to development or use the property for any purpose other than club use. That is why the actual value of the property is severely limited. The deed severely limits the possible purposes of a sale. It cannot be sold for a higher value purpose. When confronted with the deed limiting the value of that property, witness Trump seized on one word in the deed, the word intend. Trump said, intend doesn't mean we will do it. Because Donald Trump is one of the very stupidest people ever to be charged with business fraud, and because his demonstrably ineffectual lawyers obviously do not have the skills to prepare their client for even the simplest and most obvious questions, Donald Trump incriminated himself and his children with the only one-word answer that he gave all day. Question: who within the Trump organization was responsible for preventing and detecting fraud? Answer: everybody. And there, Donald Trump destroyed any shred of defense in the case for himself and his co-defendants, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. Everybody. You could spend weeks trying to think of a stupider answer than that, and you cannot come up with one. Now remember, going into his testimony today, the verdict was already rendered on the fraud that Donald Trump and his sons committed. The question now is only, will they face the maximum penalty for that fraud, which could include fines of up to $250 million? Donald Trump's job as a witness today was to give the judge a reason, any reason, to lower the penalty against him and his sons. His job was to make the judge think the fraud wasn't Donald Trump's fault, wasn't Donald Trump Jr.'s fault, wasn't Eric Trump's fault. It was the accountant's fault or something like that. That wouldn't eliminate the penalty, but it could significantly soften it. And instead, Donald Trump continued his war with the judge who is going to decide the fate of Donald Trump's business. And Donald Trump incriminated himself and his kids. Question: who within the Trump organization was responsible for preventing and detecting fraud? Answer: everybody. Lawyers dream of moments like that in court, where you get the witness on the stand who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, which is something only stupid people think in courtrooms, and he gives you a fast and loose answer to the key question in the case. Good lawyers never make the key question the first or the last question. They never let it stand out like that. They fold it into the middle of the witness examination and try to use it when they think the witness feels most comfortable, most in control. And so, a couple of hours after the judge told Donald Trump, you can do whatever you want, Donald Trump stupidly felt comfortable and in control and then said the stupidest possible thing he could say as a witness. Everybody was in on the fraud. That was Donald Trump's testimony today about his family business.